Well, hello and welcome to this AIA Update webinar on the impact of the federal election on the industry, on the automotive aftermarket, and on our programs at the association. So I'm going to be providing an update for the next 20-25 minutes. And during the presentation, I'm going to encourage you to post your question either in the Q&A tab or via the chat. I think we're all familiar with the Zoom webinar by now. And Callie will be monitoring the questions, and I'm going to do our best to answer them all during this presentation. So let's get right into it. First, let's take an update or a step back on our Your Car, Your Data campaign. We launched this campaign back in November of last year with the goal, again, to secure regulations to ensure direct access to vehicle data for the aftermarket. We launched that campaign in Canada in partnership with our sister associations south of the border, AASA and AutoCare, with the goal, again, to make this a North American campaign, really pushing for access to vehicle data. Now, what is important to understand also is we launched a separate petition in Canada on the change.org, essentially asking the Minister of Innovation, Science and Economic Development. It was originally Minister Bain, and then he became Minister Champagne afterwards. And we asked that minister, who is responsible for Bill C-11, that's the reform of the Privacy Act, asking the minister to make sure that this law would also include specific regulations to maintain consumer choice in ensuring access to ensure access and control of vehicle data when it comes down to repair and maintenance. More than 41,000 people by now have signed that petition, demanding again to Minister Champagne that Bill C-11 focused also and includes also repair maintenance vehicle. So a great success for sure from our perspective. But I would also add that we also get some great support along the way of our campaign. One from a member of Parliament from Alberta, James Cumming from Edmonton, who also sponsored another petition, this one to the House of Commons, in support of our action. So not only we had our petition that was, sort of public facing and trying to mobilize industry, the public, politician, but we also had people inside Parliament saying, yeah, we believe in this. We'll support another petition that's going to be directly tabled in support of your efforts around C-11. But there was also, other development that we were very pleased to see. There was the introductions of another bill, Bill C-272, what we call the Private Members Bill, by a member of Parliament of the Liberal Party, MP Brian May, and his focus was on the Copyright Act, but really trying to essentially allowing aftermarket parts supplier to bypass software locks and protections that are increasingly built into OEM parts to prevent the use of aftermarket parts. And this is true not just for automotive, very much so in the agricultural equipment and some other segment of the economy. We at AIA had met previously with MP Brian May. In fact, just before the pandemic, I had the opportunity to meet with Mr. May with the board member, Graham Jeffrey from Canadian Tire, that was also present. So Brian May understood, obviously, that right to repair, is not just about farming equipment, but also about automotive. And again, his bill, C-272, would have been another piece of the puzzle or the equation, to making sure we continue to be able to have access to aftermarket parts that we can install in vehicle that effectively works. And for many people working in shops today, they understand an increasingly newer vehicle, the connected and increasingly more autonomous electric vehicle, increasingly have these software locks that are technically protected by the Copyright Act. That's a problem. And so there was great refreshing to see C-272 along the way to also be introduced. In fact, I'm going to run by you a little video that you're going to be able to hear the comments from MP Brian May, but also from the conservative opposition from Pierre Poilievre, who also provided comment on 272. Let's listen to this.
I hope this legislation also kicks off a conversation about the right to repair in Canada. This issue is nonpartisan. It spans the corners of urban and rural citizens alike. It protects consumers, has a positive impact on our health and safety and the environment.
Today, almost everything we buy has some sort of a technological component to it. The future of automobiles, of washer and drying machines, will be less about the hardware and more about the technology that operates it. And so businesses have become very clever in embedding technological protection measures that encrypt the ability to maintain and repair the equipment.
So in short, the Your Car, Your Data, Your Choice campaign and all of our efforts have continued to increase awareness and basically allow the industry and consumers to continue to essentially support the right to repair movement and really make our message heard with government. And all of this would have not been possible without the great support of our sponsors who continue to financially contribute to our fund on the access to vehicle data and right to repair. I want to take the opportunity to thank you all for your continued financial support of the association so we can do what we do in support of the industry. But not only we had the support of our sponsors who were there to provide financial support, but there was also a long list of industry champions. And those are the ones who went to our website around the campaign, sign up to be promoters. And keep in mind, this is just the logos of the ones who wanted to be showcased. There's a longer list of them who are great contributors to the campaign and to make sure that information, gets shared, provided, and get to the 41,000 signatures and plus that we have today. But I think many of you knows, the Prime Minister decided to go take a little walk down and visit the Governor General, and essentially now we're in the midst of an election, and we're going to be back to the poll on September 20. So what does that mean? Well, it means that Bill C-11, who didn't make it all the way through, it means that Bill C-272, that also didn't make it all the way through, will not become law. There were essentially projects, or they were in second readings, essentially will die on the docket, and it will be the responsibility of the next government to introduce or not these laws or these bills again. They could modify them, choose not to do it. And this is, again, we're going to have to figure it out with the next government. And so I guess the message I want to convey today to you is the Your Car, Your Data, Your Choice campaign and the petition on change.org are kind of have to take a back seat. We need to pause for the duration of the election until September 20 and pivot a bit of message. And now, rather than to reach out to the government, right now we're still in between, we need to target essentially all of the people running for office, all our candidates, and talk to them about right to repair. You see, our efforts, again, have led to a lot more awareness around the topic of right to repair, and not just around automotive, but obviously consumer goods. People talk about, washing machines, cell phones, and automotive is part of that. And so that greater global conversation on right to repair is so timely. Recently, Australia just adopted its own right to repair legislation for the automotive sector. In the US, President Biden recently signed an executive order about right to repair, directing the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, to really explore the issues related to software lock and, again, the built-in obsolescence of products and all of these things. And so we have a great movement globally around the topic of right to repair. And, south of the border now, you've seen that it's about 25 of the 50 states that are now thinking about passing some form of legislations around a right to repair. And let's not forget, the recent win last year in Massachusetts, wanted extensions to the right to repair also. So I said to people, yeah, we're changing our approach, we're changing our language, but the reality is the same battle, is to ensure consumer continues to have a choice as to where and how they want to get their car serviced, enabling the aftermarket to provide, a good alternative, cost-effective, safe, and efficient repair for consumers. So we knew the election was coming. And so in advance of that, we really wanted to get a sense of what do Canadians think about in relations to right to repair right now. And so what we've done is essentially join forces with Abacus Data. It's a research analysis leading public affair firm that conduct polling with Canadians. And so we've asked them, would you poll the Canadian just before the election, and asking them quite a few questions about, do you own an automobile? How do you think about repairs? And I'm going to share with you two of the very telling results. We first ask consumer, should you be able to get your car serviced at any repair service shop? Essentially, do you support right to repair? And the results, 94% of Canadians, 62% strongly agree, and then 32% on top of that agree that consumers should be able to get their car serviced where they want. And so that really reinforces that whether you're from Quebec, Ontario, Alberta, or British Columbia, whether you lean conservative or Democrat, the Bloc or Liberal, the vast majority of Canadians of all places will support the concept of right to repair, which is a great testament, I guess, to our industry and a great vote of confidence to the people that we employ who fix cars. We went further. We asked the question, do you think the car makers should be required by law? Should there be legislation that forces them to share the data with the independent repairers so they could fix your car? And again, it's not all Canadians that are fond of, additional regulations and legislation. But here again, 83% of all Canadians told us, yeah, I think we need right to repair legislation in this country. And so these are great, great results that we're very pleased to have, and that really supports our movement to talk about right to repair. And so essentially the call to action is, well, the time to act is now. And this was the theme when we launched Your Car, Your Data, Your Choice back in November. But it is still so true today when thinking about making sure government understand that, we do have a voluntary agreement on right to repair. But when you ask Canadians, when you ask the industry, I think it's a legislative solutions we need. We've seen it in Australia. We've seen it coming up in the US. And so it is important that the Canadian government does the same thing. And so we have essentially modified our website, the Vehicle Data Access website that was used for the Your Car, Your Data campaign. And really what we've done is change the wording a bit. But the time to act is it's now. And we continue to advocate on behalf of the almost 500,000 people who work in the automotive aftermarket that depends on right to repair. And, again, really pointing out the word, I think, that people understand, that we understand in the industry, that's right to repair, that is important we have legislations for right to repair in this country. And then asking for your help, asking for all of your help today to take the step to let the candidates in your riding know that you want to keep right to repair for a vehicle. And the action that we're asking you to take is essentially to go to this online tool that is part of our website. And through this web page, all you got to do is provide your address, name, email, select whether or not you're from the aftermarket or simply a motorist. And this will automatically find who the candidates in your riding are and automatically populate a letter that you could send to them automatically, asking them to make sure that if they are elected, they understand that the next government needs to talk about right to repair and ensuring that this is part of the agenda for the next government. And so, great, nice text that gets generated automatically on your behalf. And then once it's done, you just simply have to click your accept the privacy term of use. You could subscribe for campaign updates, and then you just click the send letter, and these letters will be sent automatically again to the candidates in your riding based on your address. So this is kind of I would call our call to actions now. This is what we need you to do today. The campaign is short-lived. We're going to be at the poll on September 20. But those are the people who will make it happen to have legislation on right to repair in this country. And I always want to remind people in the aftermarket that while right to repair is a great conversation right now globally, often automotive is misunderstood as a segment of the economy where right to repair works. Oh, you could get your car serviced anywhere. There's no problem. Well, we very much know that in our industry, in our shops today, is becoming increasingly difficult with newer type vehicles that are increasingly connected and electric to in fact access the information that's needed, do the diagnostic, the reprogramming. And so we need to make sure that these candidates understand that right to repair is not just about your cell phone or your washing machine. It is also about your automobile. You're going to, I'll take one sip of the AIA water. You also may have a candidate knock on your door. They do that through election, campaign. Will be knocking on as many doors they can in their riding. They may come to your door, and let's make sure that when you talk to them, you remind them about what's important to you, what's concerning to your job, to our industry, which is the right to repair, and ensuring we continue to have that in Canada through legislation. So my ask to you today is to talk to your coworkers, talk to your employees, talk to your boss, talk to your customers, and making sure that they understand the importance of right to repair. They go to the website and sign that letter today to ensure that we continue to have a right to repair in this country. That kind of covers what I wanted to talk to you about today. I'm just keeping a close eye. I haven't seen any questions that you may have. Please note that this recording will be made available also for playback. So if you wanted to share this with some other people in your organization, you can. But until then, I'm going to ask you again one thing. Take action now. Go to our website and sign the letter today. And thank you again for joining me today. Thank you for your support of the association. And thank you again for supporting Right to Repair.